Okay, I think I'm here and I think I'm live. So, first rule of video, straighten hair. I'm mirrored, I can't see what I'm doing. All right. Well, that didn't work at all. I got some weird stuff going on there. Go away. There you go. All right. So, I would like for somebody to let me know that they see me and they hear me. If they could do that, that would be lovely. And I'm just going to fix my background here. I had to put a backdrop in because it's very echoey in this room. So give me just a moment. I'm just going to move that up. There, just to diffuse some of the echoing in the room. All right. Now, let me bring up my comments. And of course, we're not starting for a couple of minutes. So I just wanted to get everything going here. Shift that around a bit. There we go. All right. So I do see some viewers here. If you could just put a quick hello in the chat. And I will let you know that there is a link in the live post to allow StreamYard to show your name, if you wouldn't mind doing that. That way I will know who's saying hello. Otherwise, I have to check my live that's on my phone to see who you are. So I'm just going to bring that up as well, so I can also see that. And it is 1:10, so we're starting in 1 minute. So let's see who's here. How about you type a little note so that I can see who's viewing this. And then we're gonna start the S.H.I.N.E transformation experience. So let me get this up on my screen. Somewhere in here. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna pop the name of what we're doing up on the screen. Transformation experience. There we go. And show. All right, that's it. It's 1:11. Woohoo! It's time to start. So welcome, welcome to everyone who's here. I'm giving people a chance to pop online and do say hello, so I know who's watching this. And you will see me looking at my phone just because I can't always see the comments on my screen. So if anybody doesn't know who I am, I'm Marianne. And so I call myself your spiritual hostess. And I'm just going to pop that right up there. And so I have a community called Your Spiritual Hostess. And so this is being broadcast live in 2 places. That's one of them. So I assume probably most of you are there. Oh, my comments are coming through. Great. I can see and hear you. Hi, I see you. Hi, Jenna. I can't hear you. How do I allow StreamYard for comments from here? So I'll come back in a moment to what I was saying. So in the post, I'm going to post it in comments. So hopefully you can get it. Just give me 1 second to grab the StreamYard post here. If you go up to the post where you're seeing this live, it should say, oh, you know what? It might not. There's a few posts on there, so I'm going to give it to you. Let me put that in comments. No, that didn't work because I'm taking it from Facebook. Okay, hang on. Oh, it's not without its challenges, is it? So StreamYard.com/Facebook. So I'm going to put that in here. StreamYard.com Facebook. Hopefully this will work. So I'm going to post the link here and let me know if you did get that. So I see Jenna has said hi. I'll pop over again to my other page. Belinda, I see that you are there. And there's this, I can't see the other comments. It's probably because it's in another room. Okay. And, but everybody else can hear me, right? So I'm not sure why some can hear me and some can't. Oh, there, comments just came through. Dawn. Okay. So hi, Dawn and Alma And those are the couple that I wasn't sure. So if you go to streamyard.com//Facebook, I just put it in the comments there. I'm not sure if that came through to you. Actually, I can probably pop it in here too. Copy. If I do it this way, will that work? Nope. When I copy from Facebook, it takes the entire link. And it's a big long link. So let's try that and see if that works. There you go. So I put the link in comments, so you should be able to click that if you're in the Your Spiritual Hostess group, and then that will allow me to see your name. Why do I want to see your name, you ask? Okay, you didn't ask, but I'm going to show you. Because I can pop it up on the screen. So Jenna says, hi. Somebody says, hi, I can see you. Somebody says, I can see and hear you. So it allows me to pop them up on the screen, which is kind of fun. All right, back to what I was saying. So I'm Marianne, your spiritual hostess, and I have a group called Your Spiritual Hostess. And basically, I help you connect to that deeper part inside of you that is wanting to be seen and heard. So that light inside of you. And I help you give it permission to shine so brightly that you can't help but see how amazing you are. And that's where the acronym SHINE came from, because I also have a SHINE membership program, and where we play with these ideas on a deeper level, and really, have transformative experiences. So the SHINE transformation experience. So this is going to be a 5-day experience. I'm going to be live at 1:11 p.m. each day, except for Friday. It will have to be 11:11 because I have something conflicting in the afternoon. And I'm going to be sharing each of the ideas, I guess. I'm not sure what I want to call them, but each of the pieces of the SHINE transformation experience. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about the S in SHINE, which is shift your thinking. Okay, so let's get into this. So I would like to know from each of you, what percent of the time do you think the average person thinks negative thoughts? And I want you to post that in the comments. Oh, and you can hear now. Great. So what percent of the time do you think the average person thinks negative thoughts? So go ahead and post that. Is it 100% of the day, 50, 75, 90, 10? Jenna says 75%. Someone else says 85%. Those are high percentages right off the bat, aren't they? So while everyone's posting, I'll share a little story with you, 70. So one of my son's friends was having some challenges in his life, and I asked him that question. I said, what percent of the time do you think you talk negatively to yourself? He didn't even hesitate, out of his mouth, 100%. So we had a little chat about that, and I shared some tips with him. And actually, about 3 days ago, he was walking by, and I said, I haven't asked you lately, what percent of the day? And he said 20%. Yay. So that was very exciting to me, because 60 to 75, 75, 75. Yeah. So that's a big percent of the time to be talking negatively to yourself throughout the day. Wouldn't you agree? And so shifting your thinking, part of that is reducing that percent of the time that we do that to ourselves. And the thing is that it's subconscious, and we don't always know we're doing it. So part of that is just becoming aware that it's happening so that you can shift it. So just a quick little story that I'll share with you. So I've been married for 25 years. And hubby and I have never really communicated seamlessly. We're just too different, very much like many of us are. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We're just very different people. In my 30s, this came to a head. And so, and then I'm going to go into kind of the monkey mind a little bit, and how we go down this spiral of negative thinking. So I took it to mean, because we weren't getting along and we weren't communicating, that he didn't care about me, that I wasn't important, that I didn't matter. And I longed for the type of interaction that I felt that I desired. And what happens is we then take action from that place of fear, anxiety, disappointment. And that action almost always leads us into a spiral feeling of shame and guilt. Um, I'm just looking at the comments. So, and again, I won't see who this is because it won't let me see it. So I have to go do my little cheat thing and look over here. It's not up yet. So since joining S.H.I.N.E, I've reduced my negative thinking considerably to 50% or less. Yay, that's awesome. I don't know who you are yet, so I'll notice that when it comes up on my screen. And so that warms my heart. That's so fantastic. So what happens is when we get into this negative spiral of thinking, this monkey mind thinking, we make things mean stuff. Now, I always find this is a challenging concept when I talk about it. But like I was saying in my example, because my husband and I weren't communicating the way that I wanted to, to me, that was Helena. Thanks, Helena. To me, I was making it mean, again, I'm going back to my words. He didn't care about me. I wasn't important. I didn't matter. Is that what it meant? No, not at all. We just were two different people and we didn't communicate the same way. So I'm going to invite you to think about a situation in your life. So think about a challenging situation in your life right now. And I'll give everybody a moment to do that. And and I want you to think about the meaning that you're giving it. So if you want to share in the comments, please do. It's not necessary that you do, but if you would like to, you can share it. So think about a challenging situation in your life. What does it mean? What do you think it means? And if you've already had some kind of a shift around that, then you might share, what you thought it meant, but how you've expanded that. All right, so I'm giving you a few minutes to do that. So the shift your thinking module is where we notice when we're talking to ourselves negatively. And I shared this in the Let Money In workshop when I did that one a few months ago. That I noticed for myself, it was in the shower. So I would get up in the morning, I would get in the shower, I would have a shower to get ready for the day. And I would be in this state of worry and fear and negative thinking. Well, that's a horrible way to start your day. How do you think your day is going to go if you're starting your day from that place? And so once I realized that that was the place where I was setting the tone for the day, I simply started to shift it. I started to change it. And that's really, the point that I want to make with this is once we recognize it, then we can make the change necessary to shift it. So the point of this, and sorry, let me come back. So hopefully you've thought about a challenging situation in your life. And if you could post what meaning you might have given it. And I'm going to give you a few examples of this. So let's give you a really common example every day. You're driving in traffic. Doesn't matter in traffic. You're driving and someone cuts you off. Okay. What do you think is the first initial reaction that someone has around that? What are they interpreting that as to mean? Well, that was totally not proper English at all, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So you're driving, someone cuts you off. What's your first thought? How rude? How inconsiderate? What a terrible driver? Or maybe you go into poor me thinking. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do people cut me off? I think most people would take it personal and get angry. Absolutely. What is wrong with them? Yeah, absolutely. Right? And we get upset and we get angry. Now, let's play with this just a little bit. And what are all the other possible reasons why a person might have cut you off? So, we already got one. So maybe that person was having a bad day. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's not the type of person they are, but they were just having a bad day. Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe they didn't realize they cut you off. Maybe they're feeling really bad that they cut you off. Maybe they're in a hurry. They need to be somewhere. It's very important. And nothing else matters in this moment other than getting where they need to go. Perhaps someone is late, sick, worried, distracted. Exactly. So you see, it's really easy to come up with reasons why someone else might be doing something. It's sometimes a lot harder when we're in the thick of things that really impact us, right? So that was an example of kind of a micro example of something that happens every day. But what if, let's play with one more there. What if you're working and your boss comes in and starts yelling at you for something that you did, and they leave, and you're sitting there and you've just been yelled at? What's your default thinking? Where are you going to go? Hi, Pauline. I have to share Pauline's statement before I move on. Maybe that person has to go to the bathroom. Yes, or has a child to go to the bathroom. I mean, how many people can relate to that in the car? So thanks. I wanted to share that. And okay, I have a long one here, so I'm going to pop this up. Relationship interaction, definitely most challenging each day. Expect negative outcome from interaction and how I would deal with it. Working on changing my thinking from get-go and expect things will go good. And if not, I'll deal with more positive. Try to understand why spouse talks or acts the way they do. And then I either react or not, depending on the situation, but notice the way I feel and why, more than trying to figure him out. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that's not that's a macro situation, right? It's not a micro, it's not a little thing, it's a big thing. So, so going back for a minute, so your boss came in and yelled at you and left. Where's your mind going to go in that moment? Oh my gosh, I did something wrong. I'm in trouble. I might lose my job. I'm so embarrassed. How can I go and face that person, right? I mean, you're going to, you're, you're going to go through a spiral of thinking. Jenna would wonder what's wrong with the boss. Okay, I really like that. So I think that's perfect. Yeah. So, in that moment, but when it happens initially, you would go into this spiral and start to think about all of these things that, about yourself negatively. Shifting your thinking is where you would notice that immediately and go, what's wrong with the boss? Never mind me. This isn't about me. But again, what's wrong with the boss when you open and expand that? Again, maybe the boss is having a bad day. Maybe someone close to them just died. Maybe they lost all their money in the stock market. It doesn't excuse their behavior, of course, but it does give some reason to why they behaved the way they did. So what's the point that I'm trying to make with this? And yes, it would also depend if it's a normal occurrence. Absolutely. If it is, you might want to get the heck out of Dodge. So the point that I'm making with this is we make it mean something, and then we accept it as truth. Now, I want to, so we're really getting some good responses with the boss one. I don't mean to treat it like this. I quit is how I would have reacted. Not now. Yeah. So absolutely. So we make it mean something, and then we accept it as truth. That's the point that I want to make with this. And I'm just going to put a little thing in here because I want to share this with you. And this is something that we've been playing with in membership. So those in membership are going to know where I'm going with this. So let me bring that up. And because what is truth, right? So truth at a very deep level is a complete knowing of what is true and what isn't. And I'm making that distinction because that's part of the S.H.I.N.E transformation experience, is that you tap into that inner truth within you and you know that it's true. Whereas when we get in these moments of negative thinking, what happens is we go into fear mode. And one of the acronyms for fear is false evidence appearing real. We think that it's truth, but it's not truth. And this leads me to a whole nother discussion between thinking something and knowing something. And you notice my hands went from my head to my heart, because when we think, we're in our head, but when we know, we're in our heart or in our center, where our light center is. So we get into these situations, fear takes the reins, it's false evidence appearing real. We think that our beliefs around this are real. That moves us into fear, shame, guilt, worry, and then we start to react from that place. And when you react from that place, it's a whole downward spiral of negative thinking, negative thoughts. I mean, we could go further, illnesses. I mean, this can spiral, obviously, very quickly and very deeply. So I'm just laughing at the comments, the last one I shared. All right. So the point is, you make it mean something, you accept it as truth, but is it really truth? No, most of the time it's fear, it's false evidence appearing real. And then we want to take those moments and we want to start to shift them. So one of the things I hope that each of you have is the S.H.I.N.E Experience Workbook that I sent the download link. If you don't, just post in the comments and I will make sure you get the link after today so that you can download it. And so the way that I've set this up is so that you can take away the main point of the day. Now, these days events, so I said 30-minute lives, it might be a little less or a little bit more, but they're really meant to just introduce the concept of that day and really just talk about it, talk about one specific thing. And you're going to see as we go along, I'll weave them together. So, tomorrow we'll be talking about the H, which is honor your journey, and we'll be building in shift your thinking with that, because you're going to see how they build upon each other. So day one, shift your thinking. In that first page of the journal, it says the average person thinks negatively what percent of the time? And that's where you're going to put in what you put in the chat. So, the 70% or 75 or 60. And then I think negatively what percent of the time? And that's where you're going to put your percentage. Now, if you don't know what that percentage is, I want to share a little tip for how you kind of get into that knowing. So if, two things, I don't want you to overthink it. So I just want you to simply, sit in silence, just out of the noise of the day, and just ask yourself, what percent of the time do I feel I think negatively, and trust what comes up for you, and put that in there. You can also, for those of you who use a pendulum, you could have a piece of paper with 1 to 100, 0 to 100, and you could use the pendulum and let it swing somewhere within that range. Muscle testing is another way to do it. If any of you have done that, if you haven't, a simple way you can do it is you hold your 2 fingers together and you give a little bit of tension, and then you put your other 2 fingers and you pull them through. And you want to calibrate that. It's probably not the right word, but so the way you want to do that is you want to say, show me yes. And yes is strong, which means your fingers won't pull. And then show me no. And no is weak and your fingers will pull through. And so if I were doing that, what percent of the time do I think negatively about myself? Is it 100, 50, 25, 10? So right around 25. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought it would have been that high. So that's a way to get out of your head and get the answer a little more succinctly and clearly. Okay, so let's kind of bring this down to where we want to go with shift your thinking. We want to transform negative self-sabotaging thoughts into self-supporting thoughts. And eventually that will be habit. So the first step is that you recognize that it's happening. And the second step is that you start to head it off at the pass, cut it off, change what's coming up, change your wording around it. We're going to talk more about that as we go through the process. And then you just keep doing it. And what will happen is you will start to shift the way that you're thinking out of negativity into positivity. And in the middle will be that neutral ground where you're making that transition. So I have a little exercise for you that you can use to play with this throughout the day. This is one way to do it. You could take 2 jars and you could take stones or coins or beads or whatever you would like to do. So you're going to have a positive jar and you're going to have a negative jar. And you want something you can put your hands in. So it could be a bowl even. And every time you think a negative thought, you're going to put it in the negative jar. And then every time you think a positive thought, you're going to put it in the positive jar. And just see how they stack up with each other. Now, a lot of times, and you're going to move the stone. Sorry. So if you think you have to have a little store stone. So let's say you find yourself beating yourself up over something that happened today, you're going to put it in the negative jar. And then if you find that you're rewarding yourself for something you said that day, then you can take it from the negative and put it in the positive. But if you don't have any in there, you're going to have to use your extra stones. So you're just going to move them back and forth. So that's one way you can do it. Now that one's very visual, but you have to be in one place to do it. So the other way you could do it is you could set something up, for example, just a little tally sheet, on a note in your phone, or you could have a little notebook with you or something that you could use to keep track. Okay, so let's get back over here. So that is the S in S.H.I.N.E, and it's all about shifting your thinking. And the first step in that is to recognize when you're talking negatively or to yourself. What are your triggers? What's causing it to come up? And then once you see it, then you start to shift it. And I'm going to give you a couple of words that you can use. So for example, let's just use the phrase, why did I do that again? I'm always messing up. I'm always doing that wrong, for example. So if you're thinking that way and you want to shift it, you could say, now the opposite end of the spectrum is, I always do things right and I'm always doing positive things, but it might be difficult to make that transition. So you might need a transitional phrase. So a transitional phrase is, I'm writing this down on my piece of paper. I'm starting to, or beginning to, see how I do things right. I'm starting to see how I show up for myself in my life. I'm beginning to see how beautiful my body is. I'm beginning to see how well I manage my finances. So you can see I'm picking different things that we might beat ourselves up with. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. Then you start to shift it. You do that several times throughout the day. You keep on doing it until it starts to become habit. And like, I think maybe it was Alma who said, because the name wasn't there, that then you notice, and then you check in and say, what percent of the time am I talking negatively to myself? And you start to see that percentage come down. So that's day one. That's shift your thinking. Simple as that. Like I said, something very brief that I want to share, give you some time to think about. I'd like to know what your one big takeaway is from this day. So if you can put that in the comments. For those of you watching the replay, please post replay because everybody here is getting a ballot in the draw, and anyone who has watched the replay and shares their one takeaway will as well. So post your big takeaway in the comments, play with this throughout the day, come back tomorrow at the same time. We're going to move into the second part of this, which is the H, which is honor your journey. So that's what we will be doing tomorrow. And I'm just going to read a few of the comments before we end things off. So Jenna said, I have to rewatch Miss the Last Half. Pets Went Crazy. I know that feeling. And yeah, working on this in therapy. I get that. All right. So I'm going to end the broadcast, and please post your one big takeaway in the comments. And then I'll see you all tomorrow at the same time. We'll move into the second part of the S.H.I.N.E transformation experience. So everybody have a glorious day and think some lovely positive thoughts. I'll see you tomorrow.